Welcome to Beaufort County News Events. I'm Matt Golden. September 11th, 2001 is a day that will go down as one of the hardest days in American history. It's a day that changed all of our lives. Each year, Beaufort County and the Beaufort Exchange Club likes to gather to remember those lost on that day, those lost in service, and celebrate the first responders that continue to make Beaufort County safe. Today we'd like to share some interviews we grabbed at the Waterfront Park at the 9/11 Memorial Service. A reminder that some of the subject matter in these interviews may be tough and can be triggering for some viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. So Sheriff Tanner, we're here. It's Patriots Day. It's a day of remembrance of everything that happened 23 years ago. Hard to believe it's been that long, but it's also a day to kind of honor some of the first responders in Beaufort County that do so much. Can you talk about how this event came together?
Well, this is a long-standing event here in Beaufort. The Exchange Club has always done a wonderful job. They've always recognized first responders, and it's always been a pleasure working with them. We know that the integrity is there. They're doing it for the right reasons, and it's just a great group of people that are Americans they understand what first responders do. And they've always been dedicated to working with us and supporting our efforts and the things that we do every day.
Absolutely. And so you're the sheriff of Beaufort County now. Were you in law enforcement when 9/11/2001 happened?
I was the sheriff of Beaufort County at that time. So I've been the sheriff now for 26 years, and it doesn't seem like it's been 23 years ago. I remember that day quite well. And it's just today, watching the news early this morning with a cup of coffee, thinking back and looking back and seeing the videos and of course the coverage of that day. It's just I just don't think the majority of people can comprehend the amount of devastation that occurred on that day.
It really is hard to comprehend, especially if you're, like us, a few thousand miles away from it. During that time, one thing I remember is not just the mourning and, just everything with that, but the fear afterwards, not knowing what was next. How, as sheriff, did you kind of help keep the citizens of the county calm and lead them through this tough time?
Well, it impacted everyone, even though we are a long way from New York. And I've been in New York once, and I can honestly look back and look at a city the size of New York and understanding and seeing what I've seen in the form of coverage. It's just, and how compact it is as well. It's just the ability for them to do the job that they did. And here we are, we're spoiled. You can look at the scenery behind us. We're down here at the Waterfront Park in the city of Beaufort. It's a beautiful day. We're very, very fortunate to be able to do what we're doing today. And we just look back and remember, all of those people that not only in New York, but of course in Pennsylvania and the Pentagon that lost their lives, and the heroes that came out of such a tragic event. And we have our heroes right here in Beaufort County as well. And all of our first responders, our fire, our EMS, our law enforcement, they do a tremendous job. And we're dedicated to what we do. We stay focused in public safety, and we try to provide the best public safety we possibly can for a county as large as Beaufort County, with all the growth and the amount of growth we've had over the years. So every day is different, and I think that's one of the things that keep first responders in the job that they do, is because there's nothing routine about what we do. So I think they do a marvelous job. I'm very proud of them. I've been working in law enforcement here for 43 years, and I see bravery and heroes and just great people every day, not only with the people I work with, but the citizens we serve.
Absolutely. And sometimes it does feel like a little bit of a shame that it takes a big event for us to remember everything that our first responders do. I know for just me this past week, I had a car breakdown out in the county, and a sheriff came and checked on me, and then later a state trooper. And it was just, even though I didn't need anything in the moment, I had a wrecker coming. It was just nice to know someone cared, someone was making sure I was good. And it's important to remember, obviously, the bravery in something like 9/11, but also just the daily stuff that y'all do.
Sure. You know, and we get calls and emails and social media postings every day about the job that these men and women do, and it's very rewarding to hear citizens. It's rewarding to me to hear your story, and we're just very, very proud of what they do. I just think this is a great opportunity to share, our appreciation for first responders. I'm looking forward to one of my deputies getting an award tonight, and he's very deserving of it and very proud of him.
Exchange Club is a community service organization. Nationally, they've been around since 1912, I think, is the actual date. And we do four tiers of community impact. One is community service. One is child abuse prevention. Then there's an Americanism, and I always forget the fourth one. And this is kind of a double event for us. It's community service and Americanism at the same time. Last year we had discussed it among the club that it seems like people are starting to not recall 9/11 and not recognize the sacrifice that was made. And we thought we would work with the other civic organizations in the area to come up with an event, and we're well represented by the Scouts, the Rotary, the Kiwanis, and other organizations here to come down and put this event together to just have a brief commemoration of the day and what happened.
Absolutely, and you say, people not necessarily remembering, but also from my perspective, I've seen a lot of people in the workforce that were just very young when it happened and may not quite understand the gravity, quite can't remember, or weren't born. And so it really is, I think, a great thing to help kind of teach those younger people about what all happened.
Yeah, much like, Veterans Day and Memorial Day have their place. It's another that crosses beyond just the military for the sacrifices that happened on this day, in the past.
So how did it come about with the idea to not just do a memorial, but to also honor current first responders? Well,
it kind of ties together. I mean, we had previously done first responder recognition, as a club, and we wanted to kind of, it just seemed like it fit, that on the same day that we're recognizing the ones that gave all, that we recognize those that are still with us and still contributing and giving on a daily basis.
If someone's coming out here, it's their first time coming to this, and maybe there's someone like we were talking earlier that was just maybe a little too young to quite get it, what do you want them to take away from this event?
Just, to gather the gravity of what the day was, and to recall those who did give all, and to, take a few moments to just reflect on that and on the privilege that we have for being Americans and having the freedoms that we have. I do want to get a plug in. We do support CAPA extensively with our, with the child abuse prevention, and CAPA Ghost Tours are coming up in October. So if you haven't gotten any tickets yet, go on the CAPA's website and get tickets for it. Ghost Tour is a lot of fun, and it only happens 9 days a year. So if you want to go, you might want to make sure you don't miss it.
Always great to have a nice kind of evening out like that. It's a fun time, and also that supports a great cause.
Exactly.
My name is Jeff Barry. I am a New York City resident, and I was there on 9/11 when the buildings came down.
My name is Robert Strother, and I'm a resident of Bluffton.
So we're here today with Patriots Day. It's a day of remembrance, obviously, also a day to honor some of Beaufort's current first responders. With you being a resident of New York, it's really hard for me to imagine what all that was like, as I was about 2,000 or so miles away from it. Could you kind of talk about just the feeling of that day?
It was unbelievable that a major city in the United States was under attack. I mean, we've all heard of Pearl Harbor, but that wasn't in the mainland. But to have New York City, which is where I was born and raised, and I was leaving work. I had worked overnight in a European shift, and we heard that the buildings rattle, and I was driving up the West Side Highway, and it was like, oh my gosh, somebody hit the World Trade Center. By the time I got into New Jersey, I was living there at the time, I turned around, the traffic was stopped on the Pulaski Skyway. I got out of my car like everyone else. I turned around, and as I did, I saw the second plane hit the building. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
And just see that big ball, and I knew at the time, that's it. We're under a major attack, and then the radio saying that the Pentagon was attacked, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And then my firm was at 59 Wall Street, and we moved up to 140 Broadway 2 or 3 months later, and I had to sit there looking into the pit. And by the time I retired in 2017, I got to see the restoration of the entire site, and it's very moving. I would recommend everybody. There's a museum there as well. I would recommend everybody go and see the memorial. They did an excellent job of honoring the people who were killed so needlessly. But yeah, so
that is an amazing perspective to have seen it when it happened, and then also get to see the rebuild. You know, one thing I remember from that time is just everybody kind of unified, kind of got together. How was that in the city at that time?
Pretty much everybody came together. There's a famous joke that Governor Pataki, Governor Giuliani, Mayor Giuliani, and the new incoming mayor, Bloomberg, were driving up the West Side Highway. Everybody was cheering them on and everything. And Pataki said to the other two, he goes, you know, not one of those people voted for us. So it just shows you how everybody overcame politics, and the amount of generosity to the firefighters with food and firefighters from all over the country came and risked their lives in this burning pit because it was still on fire, and they were just said, I don't care, I'm going to get my buddies out. So sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. We'll talk a little about the event today. So what does this mean for y'all getting to do the bagpipes for this?
Oh, this is good. You know, there's nothing like Amazing Grace played on the bagpipes, and all four of us as pipers, that's a special moment for us that we can play Amazing Grace because it's a mournful instrument to begin with, and then adding Amazing Grace to it, you know, it's like over the top.
Absolutely. You know, being a piper, it's kind of a thing we've seen a lot, but I know for me, I never really knew personally any. How did y'all get started doing this?
I grew up in West Virginia,
okay,
and there's a large Scottish settlement there, and my grandmother's Scottish, and so it was only natural for me to take up the bagpipes then.
That makes sense. Now, how did you begin bagpiping?
Well, it was, I always wanted to learn how to play and never got around to it. And then when I turned 50, my wife gave me lessons, and we had been watching the St. Patrick's Day parade. And I said, you know, I always wanted to do that. She gave me lessons, and I met this wonderful old pipe major, and he was very patient with me and got me there. And then I joined a pipe band, and it's been the most wonderful experience of my life. I couldn't recommend it for any more than, you know, such camaraderie with other pipers. And we do events like this. We honor veterans. We do St. Patrick's Day, and we have fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's just to be able to make people smile or reminisce. This instrument does that to you. It just shakes your core. So
it really does. For me, actually, it always makes me think of football. We had a bagpiper lead us out in high school football. Yeah. That was so it always brings me back to that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was talking with someone earlier. It's hard to believe it's been 23 years since September 11 attacks. There's a lot of people in the world who were just either not born or very young at the time who may not be able to grasp. If they're there today, maybe for the first time at this event, what do y'all hope they take away from that?
Never forget. I wear this badge. I ran an event in Charlotte with Tunnel to Towers, and it's funny, Jeff and I have a little connection that way, and so when you run that tower, it's 43 floors. It's in Charlotte at the Tower Museum, and So they have a tent set up, and every participant will pick up a badge with one of the first responders that perished. And so our youngest son is in the bomb squad, the K-9 unit in Pittsburgh. And so as soon as I walked in, Detective Richards was the first badge that I saw, and he was with the bomb squad. And so that's why I'm wearing this today, don't forget. And so I don't forget him and what he did.
Absolutely. What do you hope people take away from this?
That we need to be a strong country, a united country. Things like this can happen at any time. And that, yes, we have our political differences and religious differences, but we are one group of people, and that we're in one country. And we should all work to, I love the theme now, it's make it a day of contribution to your neighbors or whatever. And there's so much more we all individually can do. And so I hope maybe this awakens some of that. You know, the horror, yes, we have to say goodbye again, but it's important that we take a good lesson of being good people and kind to each other, you know. So that's all I can say.
Thank you for tuning in to Beaufort County News Events. I'm Matt Golden. Have a great day, Beaufort County.